Number 11 on the test is going to be a problem where you have to graph, and for the tangent and cotangent graphs you have to graph it over 2 periods. So here's the formulas that you'll need to know for this problem here. If it's tangent, you want to use this formula for phase shift. Opposite sign is c over b minus pi over 2b. In this case, your b value is pi over 4. So let's put that in for the period. It's going to be pi divided by pi over 4. And if you flip and multiply, you're going to get a period of 4. Next, let's do the amplitude. The amplitude is the absolute value of the number in front of the trig function. In this case, there's a -1 there. Absolute value of that, absolute value of -1, is going to give you +1. Now for the phase shift, we want to use this formula, so let's plug everything in. Now for this case, there's no value for c here. So because there's no c value, there's nothing that comes after the x. That means the c is going to be a 0. So we're going to do 0 over pi over 4. That's the b value there. Then we have minus pi over 2 times b, and that's going to be, again, you have pi over 4 goes in there. Now let's work this out. You're going to get a 0 for the first one. Now this is going to reduce to pi over 2. And when you flip and multiply that, the pi's are going to cancel out, and you're actually going to get -2. So your phase shift starts at -2. So in this problem, you don't have any pi's. In fact, you have whole numbers on this one here. So -2 for phase shift and a period of 4. Now, we have to know what the half point is, so we can add those and find out what the graph looks like. So let's do that. The half point is always your period divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is going to give you 2. That's your half point. Now, when you draw the graph, you don't have to necessarily show all your work how you got all the key points. It would actually be sufficient if you do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this here. The phase shift is at -2. So that would be here. And you would just add the half point all the way through. So the next key point would be a 0 there. If you add 2 to that, you would get 2. If you add 2 to that, you would get a 4. Add 2 to that, and you would get 6. So it's actually sufficient just to show your work like that. You don't have to write all that out like you might have seen in lecture. So here's the first, the middle, and the last one. Those are your vertical asymptotes. Now the tangent graph normally goes like this. But because you've got -tan, that means you have to flip it, and it's going to fall. So the graph is going to fall. It's going to go through the origin. That's one of the points there. This is going to go through a 4. So this is all you have to worry about as far as the test is concerned. I'm not looking for the amplitude, so you don't have to get real accurate with that. Just the overall sketch is fine as long as you have the correct asymptotes and the intercepts. That would be acceptable.